3I Atlas has changed its course. 3I Atlas has become brighter. It's racing toward Earth. They say it's an alien ship, about the size of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, etc., etc. You've probably heard many similar rumors and wild claims about this cosmic object lately. Let's go straight to the facts. What is this object? When was it discovered? What is its trajectory and velocity? When will we see it again? And why will the first 2 weeks of November 2025 become crucial in its history? 3I Atlas is believed to be a comet, though very different from others. It comes from another star system and recently passed near Mars and the Sun. Its size is comparable to Manhattan, the same size of an asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs from Earth. This new object was first detected on July 1st, 2025 by the Atlas telescope in Chile. Then Hubble confirmed the observation. The object has a faint tail. It is presumed to be an interstellar comet, only the third ever discovered. During its approach to the Sun, observations from Earth were nearly impossible due to the intense glare. That's why spacecraft in Mars orbit and solar coronagraphs were used instead. Right now, as the viewing angle increases each day, Earth-based telescopes are receiving increasingly clear data. Spectral analysis shows an unusually high CO2 content in the comet, along with water, carbon monoxide, and traces of other substances. This may indicate that it formed in a very cold region or that it has a dense crust preventing water from evaporating. So far, everything looks natural. 3I Atlas moves along a hyperbolic trajectory, meaning it is not gravitationally bound to the Sun like ordinary comets. Such a trajectory guarantees that it will pass through the solar system only once and soon leave it forever, heading back into interstellar space. The perihelion has already passed. Recall that perihelion is the point in an orbit where a planet or other celestial body is closest to the Sun. The distance from Earth remains safe, but right now is the most critical time for science. The first weeks after perihelion, when even the slightest deviations from the predicted trajectory can be detected. If 3I Atlas were a spacecraft, firing its engines near perihelion would be the most efficient moment to change its velocity or direction. That's where you can achieve the greatest alteration in trajectory for the same amount of fuel. For context, this is how Voyager 2 increased its velocity using gravitational maneuvers near planets, boosting its velocity to escape the solar system. 3I Atlas is moving at about 37 miles per second, faster than the planets but slower than the record-breaking passes of NASA's Parker Solar Probe, which studies the Sun. For comparison, Earth moves at 19 miles per second, Mars at 15 miles per second, and the first cosmic velocity, the speed needed to enter Earth orbit, is 5 miles per second. For now, the main hypothesis is that it is a comet of natural origin. However, some astrophysicists, for example Avi Loeb, do not rule out another, much less likely version. This interstellar object could turn out to be artificial, a sail, a probe, or even a spacecraft. Of course, the point is not to claim, but to test. What would be considered suspicious? Acceleration that cannot be explained by normal outgassing. Flickering that points to a flat, mirror-like shape. Unusual jets or chemistry different from typical comets. And, of course, maneuvering. If the object is capable of maneuvering, the most efficient moment would be when it is closest to the Sun. That is right now when sunlight and any low-thrust propulsion would have the greatest effect. That's why immediately after perihelion comes the moment of verification. Astronomers must obtain the most precise astrometric data, high-frequency photometric measurements, and high-resolution images. While the object's activity is at its peak, gravity dictates its hyperbolic trajectory. Real comets deviate slightly due to gas jets, but if 3I Atlas deviates more than expected, that would be very unusual. In general, nothing is impossible, and even the idea of an artificial origin should not be dismissed. The next 2 weeks of precise measurements, until November 15th, will reveal what 3I Atlas truly is. If it continues along its current path, it's a natural comet. But if it strays, astrophysicists around the world will be left speechless. We'll keep following the updates. You're on Infinity, so stay tuned. Even more mind-blowing facts about space are coming next.
Deep in space, in the vast Eagle Nebula, stand towering structures of cosmic dust and gas that look like colossal sculptures. These formations, known as the Pillars of Creation, stretch for light years, bathed in the eerie glow of newborn stars. They are immense, with the tallest reaching about 5 light-years. That's over 30 trillion miles long. At first glance, they appear still, frozen in time. But in reality, these clouds are alive with activity. Inside them, gravity pulls particles together, forming dense clumps that ignite into new stars. These stellar nurseries give birth to some of the most brilliant celestial objects in the universe. And yet, despite their breathtaking beauty, these pillars are slowly being destroyed by the very stars they help create. Young, massive stars nearby release powerful radiation that erodes the gas, carving out intricate structures and leaving behind only the densest pockets of material. Over time, the pillars of creation will vanish, erased by the forces of the cosmos. But what's even more mind-blowing is that they may already be gone. Because they're located 6,500 light-years from Earth, what we see today is an image from the past. Astronomers suspect a nearby supernova might have already blasted them away, but we won't know for thousands of years. Some have even speculated that these formations might be more than just gas and dust. Could they hold secrets about the universe's deeper mysteries? Or perhaps they're a sign of something more complex at play in the cosmos? While mainstream science offers answers, the vast unknown still leaves room for wonder. Somewhere in the universe at this very moment, an explosion is unleashing more energy in a few seconds than the sun will produce in its entire lifetime. These cosmic blasts, known as gamma-ray bursts or GRBs, are the most violent and mysterious events ever observed. They come in two forms, short bursts that last less than 2 seconds and long ones that can continue for minutes. But don't let the duration fool you. Each burst is so intense it outshines entire galaxies. Scientists believe most GRBs happen when massive stars collapse into black holes, releasing jets of ultra-energetic radiation that race through space at nearly the speed of light. If one of these jets happens to point toward Earth, we witness a flash so bright it can be seen from billions of light-years away. Some GRBs come from the violent mergers of neutron stars, collisions so powerful they send ripples through space-time itself. The afterglow from these explosions fades quickly, leaving only questions in its wake. What's unsettling is that if a gamma-ray burst were to occur nearby and aim directly at Earth, it could strip away our planet's atmosphere in an instant. While such an event is extremely unlikely, scientists have found evidence suggesting that a GRB may have caused one of Earth's past mass extinctions. For now, these bursts remain distant spectacles, cosmic fireworks that remind us of the raw, unpredictable forces shaping the universe. But the deeper we look into space, the more we realize that not everything out there is just passing by. Some things are pulling us in. Everything around us, our planet, the sun, the entire Milky Way, is moving through space at 1.3 million miles per hour. But where is it going? The answer leads us to one of the strangest and most unsettling discoveries in astronomy: the Great Attractor. Lurking 200 million light-years away, this unseen force is dragging our galaxy, along with thousands of others, toward it at incomprehensible speeds. Unlike a black hole, it doesn't pull in matter with an event horizon. Instead, it seems to be a monstrous concentration of mass, hidden behind the dense clouds of the Milky Way's core. Scientists only detected its influence because galaxies around it were behaving strangely, accelerating toward an empty patch of sky. The reason? The Great Attractor appears to be a gravitational anomaly, an enormous structure made of galaxies, dark matter, and who knows what else. What makes this phenomenon even more bizarre is that we still don't know exactly what's there. Some researchers suggest that the Great Attractor is just one part of an even larger supercluster of galaxies, pulling everything into a cosmic migration we can never escape. Others believe it may hint at forces beyond our current understanding of gravity. If something this massive is lurking right in our cosmic backyard, what else might be waiting out there in the darkness? Maybe, every now and then, something even more unexpected pays us a visit. For billions of years our solar system has been drifting through the galaxy, seemingly isolated. But in 2017, something changed. An object unlike anything seen before hurtled past the sun, moving so fast it couldn't possibly belong to our system. It was named Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout. And that's exactly what it felt like. A visitor from deep space, cutting through our neighborhood before vanishing into the unknown. Unlike a typical comet or asteroid, Oumuamua was elongated like a cigar, with no visible trail of dust or gas. Even stranger, as it moved away from the sun, it accelerated slightly, as if something was pushing it. Scientists proposed explanations ranging from frozen hydrogen evaporating off its surface to exotic alien technology. The mystery remains unsolved. Then, in 2019, another visitor arrived, Comet Borisov. Unlike Oumuamua, Borisov behaved more like a traditional comet, complete with a glowing tail, confirming that interstellar objects do pass through our system, perhaps more often than we realize. If two interstellar objects were found within just a few years of each other, how many more have passed unnoticed? And where do they come from? Some theories suggest they were ejected from their home systems after chaotic planetary rearrangements. Others raise the question, could something, or someone, have sent them? The next time a piece of another star system enters ours, we might have better tools to study it. Until then, we're left watching and waiting. And as we look outward, we continue to find cosmic giants that defy expectations. Deep inside the Tarantula Nebula, in a star cluster so packed that stars almost touch, lurks the most massive star ever discovered, R136A1. This colossal furnace is so extreme that it defies the limits of what we thought was possible for a star. Estimates suggest it once had a mass over 300 times that of the Sun, though over time it has shed a significant portion of its material. Even now, it still dwarfs almost every other known star, burning at nearly 100 times the Sun's temperature and shining millions of times brighter. A star like this shouldn't even exist for long. The bigger a star, the faster it burns through its fuel, and R136A1 is no exception. It's racing toward an explosive fate, likely a pair instability supernova, an event so violent that it doesn't leave behind a black hole or a neutron star. Instead, it would completely obliterate itself, releasing unimaginable amounts of energy into the cosmos. What's truly fascinating is that scientists don't fully understand how a star this massive formed in the first place. Theories suggest it could have been the result of multiple stars merging, or perhaps conditions in the Tarantula Nebula allowed it to grow beyond what should be possible. Could even larger stars have once existed in the universe's past, only to vanish before we could ever detect them? While R136A1 is the most massive star we know of, it may not be the true limit of stellar extremes. And while this fiery giant dominates one end of the cosmic scale, on the opposite extreme, there's a place so cold it defies imagination. Space is cold, so cold that most of it hovers just a few degrees above absolute zero. But in one mysterious nebula, temperatures plunge even lower than that. Located 5,000 light-years away, the Boomerang Nebula holds the title of the coldest known natural place in the universe. Its temperature? A staggering minus 457.7 degrees Fahrenheit, making it colder than the background radiation left over from the Big Bang. How is this even possible? The nebula is actually a dying star's last breath, ejecting gas so quickly that it expands and cools faster than any other known object. This rapid expansion has created an eerie, ghost-like structure, an hourglass-shaped cloud that appears to glow faintly when viewed in infrared, but there's something strange about it. The Boomerang Nebula shouldn't be able to sustain such extreme cold for long. Some scientists suspect we're catching it in a rare, fleeting phase of evolution, a moment in time that won't last much longer. As telescopes get better, astronomers are hoping to uncover exactly what's happening inside this bizarre cosmic deep freeze. Could there be an even colder place out there hidden in the darkness? For now, the Boomerang Nebula holds its chilling record. But in the search for other cosmic oddities, we've already found planets that seem to belong in the realm of science fiction. A bright sunset, two suns hanging in the sky. It sounds like something from Star Wars, but it turns out Tatooine-like worlds are real. Astronomers have discovered multiple circumbinary planets which orbit not one but two stars. Instead of a single sunrise, these worlds would have shifting dynamic skies, sometimes lit by two blazing suns, sometimes by eerie twilight when the stars align just right. One of the most famous of these planets is Kepler-16b, a gas giant roughly the size of Saturn that orbits two stars at once. Then there's Kepler-47c, which sits comfortably in its system's habitable zone, meaning it could, in theory, have conditions suitable for life. And who knows what we'll find as we continue scanning the skies. Some astronomers believe that rocky, Earth-like circumbinary planets might be out there, waiting to be found. But living on a two-sun world wouldn't be simple. The climate on these planets would be unpredictable, shifting between extreme heat and cold depending on the stars' positions. Would life be able to adapt? Could alien creatures exist in conditions unlike anything we see on Earth? The discovery of these planets has forced us to rethink what's possible in planetary systems. And if strange worlds can exist around multiple suns, what happens when we push past the limits of even time itself? Black holes are already terrifying, gravity so strong that not even light can escape. But what's even weirder is what happens to time near one. If you were to approach a black hole, time would slow down dramatically compared to an observer watching from a distance. The closer you got, the slower time would move for you, until, at the event horizon, it would seem to freeze completely from the outside perspective. This isn't just a theory, it's a direct consequence of Einstein's general relativity. Scientists have even observed this time distortion in action. Around massive objects like the black hole at the center of the Milky Way, stars appear to move strangely, subtly confirming that time flows differently near intense gravitational fields. But what happens if something or someone falls in? Would they experience time in a way completely alien to us? Some have speculated that black holes could act as one-way time machines, leading to regions of the universe we can't yet comprehend. Could an advanced civilization ever manipulate this effect to travel through time? While black holes stretch our understanding of physics, they are far from the only great cosmic mystery. The biggest question in astronomy is one we still struggle to answer. What makes up most of the universe itself? When you look at the night sky, you're seeing only a tiny fraction of what's really there. Everything we can observe, stars, planets, galaxies, makes up just 5% of the universe. The rest? We can't see it, we can't touch it, but we know it's there. Scientists call it dark matter and dark energy, and together they make up the vast majority of the cosmos. Dark matter acts like an invisible glue, holding galaxies together. Without it, the stars in a spinning galaxy should fly apart, yet they don't. Something unseen is providing extra gravity, and whatever it is, it outweighs all the visible matter in the universe. Then there's dark energy, an even greater mystery. This force seems to be pushing the universe apart, making it expand at an accelerating rate. That shouldn't be happening, at least according to the physics we currently understand. Despite decades of research, we still don't know exactly what dark matter and dark energy are. Could dark matter be made of exotic particles we haven't yet discovered? Or is it something entirely different, a fundamental flaw in how we understand gravity itself? Some theorists even suggest dark energy could be linked to multiple universes or hidden dimensions. Right now, we're left with more questions than answers, but one thing is certain. Whatever is out there, it's shaping the cosmos in ways we are only beginning to understand. For years, astronomers have been picking up brief, powerful radio signals coming from deep space, fast radio bursts or FRBs. Each one lasts just milliseconds but releases as much energy as the sun does in a whole year. The strange part? Most of them come from unknown sources, billions of light years away. Some FRBs appear only once, while others repeat unpredictably. One of the most famous, FRB 121102, has been traced to a dwarf galaxy, but no one knows what causes it. Some theories suggest neutron stars with ultra-powerful magnetic fields, while others propose more exotic explanations. Could these be signals from an advanced alien civilization? While there's no evidence yet, the idea keeps resurfacing. New telescopes are now detecting hundreds of these bursts, but we still don't know their true nature. Are they cosmic phenomena we haven't fully understood? Or is someone or something deliberately sending them? The mystery remains unsolved, but space has no shortage of bizarre and unexplained objects, including galaxies that look almost too perfect to be real. Galaxies' opposites. We know black holes, places where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape. But what if there were objects that did the exact opposite? Theoretical physics suggests that white holes could exist, objects that never allow anything inside and continuously eject matter and energy instead. So far, no white hole has ever been observed, but some researchers believe they could be real. Some theories even suggest that the Big Bang itself may have been a giant white hole, pouring energy into existence. Could these strange objects still exist somewhere in the universe? Some have even proposed that certain gamma-ray bursts, those powerful cosmic explosions, could be brief flashes from white holes appearing and vanishing. While white holes remain purely theoretical for now, the universe is full of incredibly bright and energetic objects. Some of them shine so intensely that they can be seen across billions of light years. If black holes are known for swallowing light, quasars are the exact opposite. They shine so brightly that they outshine entire galaxies. A quasar is a supermassive black hole at the center of a distant galaxy, actively consuming matter and blasting out enormous amounts of energy. The most powerful quasars are billions of times brighter than the sun, with massive jets of radiation stretching for light years. Quasar 3C273, the first one ever discovered, is so luminous that it can be seen 2.4 billion light-years away. And yet, despite their brightness, quasars are also reminders of destruction. Feeding off the material around them, they gradually consume their host galaxies. Quasars provide a glimpse into the early universe as they were much more common billions of years ago. Their energy output helps shape entire galaxies, influencing how stars and planets form. But not every star behaves predictably. Some flicker and dim in ways that leave even astronomers puzzled. Most stars shine steadily with only slight variations in brightness. Tabby's star, however, breaks all the rules. First observed by astronomer Tabitha Boyajian, this star dips in brightness by as much as 20% at irregular intervals. Nothing else like it has ever been seen. At first, astronomers thought it might be a swarm of comets blocking the light, but no other star has shown this kind of dimming. Some researchers have even suggested an alien megastructure like a Dyson sphere could be partially blocking the star's light. Though there's no real evidence for this yet, what's truly baffling is that the dimming has continued for years, unlike a normal planetary transit. Scientists are still searching for answers, but whatever is happening around Tabby's star, it's something we've never seen before. And when it comes to strange celestial objects, nothing is more unpredictable than planets that don't even have a home. Most planets orbit stars, but rogue planets don't belong to any solar system. They drift through the galaxy alone, unbound by gravity, floating endlessly in the darkness. Astronomers estimate that there could be billions of these lost worlds wandering between stars ejected from their home systems by gravitational chaos. The strangest part? Some rogue planets may still have active geology or even hidden oceans beneath thick atmospheres. Without a star to provide heat, these planets rely on internal energy, radioactive decay, trapped heat, or even tidal forces from unseen companions. Some might even have life surviving in deep warm pockets beneath thick ice layers. The discovery of rogue planets challenges everything we thought we knew about planetary formation. How many of them are out there? Could one pass close to our solar system in the distant future? Everywhere we look in space, a faint glow lingers, a relic from the birth of the universe. This is the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, radiation left over from the Big Bang nearly 13.8 billion years ago. It's the oldest light in the universe, stretched over time into a cold, invisible whisper. The CMB is like a fossilized snapshot of the early cosmos, showing tiny temperature variations that eventually led to galaxies, stars, and planets. Detected in 1965, this radiation confirmed that the universe had a fiery beginning. But there are still mysteries. Strange temperature anomalies hint that something deeper might be at play in the fabric of reality itself. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is the largest and longest-lasting storm in the solar system. Over 10,000 miles wide, it could swallow Earth whole. First observed over 350 years ago, it continues to rage, whipping up winds over 400 miles per hour. Unlike hurricanes on Earth, which die out after a few days, the Great Red Spot is fueled by Jupiter's powerful jet streams. But it's shrinking. Its once giant form is now about half the size it was a century ago. Will it disappear completely or transform into something new? No one knows for sure. But Jupiter isn't the only place with bizarre weather. Far beyond the planets, an icy frontier remains largely unexplored. Past Pluto, beyond the Kuiper Belt, lies the Oort cloud, a vast shell of icy objects surrounding the solar system. Thought to stretch light-years into space, this frozen region is where long-period comets are born. No spacecraft has ever reached it, and its exact size and composition remain uncertain. But its existence explains why we occasionally see comets plunging toward the sun. They're visitors from this distant, untouched realm. Could it hold unknown planets or even clues to the solar system's birth? For now, it remains an unseen boundary, a cold and quiet edge of the known world. But back in our own planetary neighborhood, storms take a much stranger shape. Saturn's hexagonal storm, swirling at its north pole, is one of the most bizarre weather patterns ever observed. Unlike the chaotic storms on other planets, this one is a perfect six-sided vortex, stretching 20,000 miles across and spinning at nearly 200 miles per hour. First seen by Voyager 1 in the 1980s, and later studied in detail by Cassini, this unusual storm has remained stable for decades. How does a planet create a perfectly geometric storm? Some think it's due to powerful atmospheric waves, but no other planet has anything like it. Saturn's hexagon is yet another reminder that the laws of nature can take unexpected and beautiful forms. And when it comes to extreme physics, nothing beats the strangest stars in the universe. After a massive star explodes in a supernova, all that remains is an ultra-dense core, a neutron star. Just 10 miles wide, yet heavier than the sun, These stellar corpses are so dense that a sugar cube-sized piece of one would weigh 1 billion tons. Some neutron stars spin rapidly, sending out powerful beams of radiation. These are pulsars, cosmic lighthouses blinking across space. Others collide, creating bursts of gold and platinum. The physics at play inside them is unknown. Could matter exist in a completely new state? Neutron stars are among the strangest objects ever discovered, bending space, time, and even our understanding of reality itself.
One side hides scars, the other stares at us nightly. What's the moon not telling us, and why are we only seeing half the truth? For decades, scientists have wondered why the near side, the one we see from Earth, is darker and smoother while the far side is lighter, heavily cratered, and rougher. The near side is filled with dark volcanic plains called maria, created when massive lava flows reshaped the surface billions of years ago. But those lava seas never reached the far side. Why? A recent NASA study from the Grail mission offers a compelling explanation. Deep inside the moon, one hemisphere might be significantly warmer than the other, by as much as 170 degrees Fahrenheit. That might not sound like much on a cosmic scale, but even a 2 to 3% change in the crust's flexibility is enough to change everything. The hotter side would be more plastic, more prone to volcanic activity, and more likely to crack open and flood with lava. The cooler side, it stayed rigid, preserving its battered, cratered surface. This kind of internal imbalance couldn't happen on Earth, where a molten core keeps heat and pressure evenly distributed. But the moon is geologically quiet. It has no active core, no strong magnetic field, and little internal movement. Instead, it holds pockets of heat, remnants from its formation, or hotspots created by the slow decay of radioactive elements like thorium. These hotspots may have shaped the very face we look at today. Other theories add layers to this mystery. Some scientists believe Earth's early gravity pulled molten material toward the near side. Others suggest the moon once had a tiny twin that collided and merged unevenly, thickening the crust on one side. All of these factors may have played a role, but one thing's clear. The moon is far from a simple, frozen rock. It's a world shaped by fire and time, and we've only ever seen half the story. For most of human history, one half of the moon was completely unknown. People could map the stars, track the planets, even guess at Mars's seasons, but the moon? Half of it was pure speculation. That veil was finally lifted in 1959 when the Soviet Luna 3 probe sent back the first photographs of the far side. They were blurry, low-res, black and white, but they changed everything. It was the first time we saw what no one had ever seen, a lunar landscape hidden from Earth's view. Those early images sparked a race, not just in spaceflight, but in lunar science. Suddenly, we weren't guessing anymore. Over the following decades, satellites and probes began mapping the moon's far side in high detail. Yet, despite the images, no lander had ever touched down there. Until 2019. That year, China's Chang'e 4 made history by performing the first soft landing on the far side. It wasn't easy. Direct communication with the lander was impossible from Earth, so China launched a separate relay satellite, Queqiao, to float beyond the moon and beam back data. The mission worked flawlessly. The rover Yutu-2 began exploring the Von Karman crater, part of the massive South Pole Aitken Basin. Down there, the terrain is wilder than anything on the near side, ridges, jagged rocks, and shattered regolith. Yutu-2's findings revealed unexpected minerals like olivine from deep beneath the crust, and even signs of ancient volcanic glass beads buried under the surface. The far side isn't just about mystery anymore, it's a laboratory. A place untouched by Earth's radio signals, perfect for telescopes and future science outposts. And thanks to missions like Chang'e 4, that once hidden half of the moon is no longer out of reach. It's wide open and waiting. The moon may look like a cold, lifeless rock, but sometimes it shakes, literally. During the Apollo missions, NASA astronauts placed seismometers on the lunar surface. What they discovered was unexpected. The moon has its own version of earthquakes. They're called moonquakes, and they come in several types, some mild, others powerful enough to rattle entire regions. Unlike Earth's tectonic tremors, moonquakes can last up to 10 minutes, far longer than anything we experience here. That's because the moon lacks water and a soft crust, so the energy doesn't dissipate as easily. The vibrations just bounce around inside like sound waves in a hollow shell. It was Apollo 12's seismometer that picked up a shock so intense, the moon rang like a bell, a phrase that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories. There are 4 types of moonquakes: Deep quakes from hundreds of miles below, shallow quakes closer to the surface, thermal quakes from drastic temperature shifts, and vibrations from meteorite impacts. The most dangerous are the shallow ones. Some registered over magnitude 5.5, strong enough to damage any future lunar base. What causes these tremors on a world thought to be geologically dead? Some are triggered by Earth's gravitational pull. Others may stem from the slow cooling and shrinking of the moon's core, which causes the crust to crack and shift. Fault lines and scarps found across the surface are evidence that the moon is still creaking under its own weight. These quakes aren't just scientific curiosities, they're warnings. Any plans for lunar colonies must account for a world that moves beneath its surface, sometimes violently. The moon may be quiet, but it's not done shifting. Not yet. Buried on the moon's far side is a scar so massive it really just defies belief. It's called the South Pole Aitken Basin, and it stretches over 1,600 miles wide and up to 5 miles deep. That's actually larger than the state of Alaska. You could fit the entire Grand Canyon inside it and still have space left over. This isn't just the moon's biggest impact site. It may be the largest confirmed impact crater in the entire solar system. Formed over 4 billion years ago by an asteroid slamming into the lunar surface, the basin holds clues to the moon's violent youth. The impact was so powerful that it may have punched through the crust and exposed parts of the lunar mantle. This gives scientists a rare look beneath the moon's surface without having to drill. But you know, this isn't just an old hole in the ground. It's a place of active interest. China's Chang'e 4 mission landed in a smaller crater inside this massive basin, and it's been sending back data that could change everything we thought we knew about lunar geology. Yutu-2, the rover, found minerals never seen on the surface before, like low-calcium pyroxene and olivine, hinting at deep interior origins. The basin also sits near the moon's south pole, a region full of shadowed craters, strange magnetic fields, and potential resources. That's why future missions, including NASA's Artemis program, are targeting this area for exploration. If we're going to build lunar bases or mine the moon, this ancient crater might be where it all begins. For decades, the moon was thought to be bone dry. Then in 2009, when NASA's Elk Cross mission slammed a rocket booster into a permanently shadowed crater near the South Pole. And what came flying out changed everything water ice. Not a lot, but enough to prove a major point. The moon isn't dry. It's hiding ice, locked in the coldest, darkest places it has. Some of these shadowed craters haven't seen sunlight in billions of years. Temperatures there drop to minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to trap and preserve ice for eons. That ice isn't just a scientific curiosity. It could become drinking water for astronauts, oxygen for breathing, and hydrogen for rocket fuel. In short, lunar ice could be the key to staying on the moon and even reaching Mars. NASA, China, India, and private companies are now targeting the moon's poles for exploration. Rovers and orbiters are mapping the ice from above, identifying the richest pockets. But getting to it won't be easy. The terrain near the poles is jagged, steep, and constantly in shadow. One wrong step, and a rover could vanish into a frozen pit of darkness. Still, the potential is just too great to ignore. NASA's upcoming Artemis missions are heading straight for these icy regions, with plans to land humans on the moon's south pole for the first time. If they succeed, it won't just be another footprint in the dust. It'll be a turning point. Lunar ice could fuel the next era of space travel. Across the moon's surface are these strange, swirling shapes, pale, ghostly trails that loop and curl across craters and plains. They look kind of like brushstrokes from an artist's hand, but honestly, no one knows exactly how they got there. These are lunar swirls, and they remain one of the moon's weirdest and most beautiful mysteries. One of the most famous examples is Reiner Gamma, a bright, spiral-shaped formation visible even from Earth with a decent telescope. It stretches for dozens of miles, as if the moon itself had been scraped by some cosmic tool. Yet there's no elevation change, no crater, no sign of an impact. Just a bright smear over the gray. Even more puzzling is their connection to magnetic fields. Wherever these swirls appear, local magnetic anomalies follow. But the moon doesn't have a global magnetic field like Earth. These patches seem to exist in isolation, defying the way magnetism is supposed to behave on a dead world. Some researchers think the swirls are ancient scars left by comet impacts. Others believe they're caused by charged solar particles being deflected by underground magnetic shields, preserving the lighter soil beneath and leaving those swirling designs. Whatever the explanation, these patterns are natural art, carved by forces we don't fully understand. They're more than just pretty spots. They could also teach us how space weather shapes airless worlds. And they hint that the moon still has secrets beneath its quiet surface. When the next generation of lunar explorers arrives, they may finally get to walk through these cosmic fingerprints and uncover the story written in their swirls. It all started with a strange echo. When the Apollo 12 mission intentionally crashed part of its spacecraft onto the moon in 1969, something bizarre happened. The impact sent seismic waves rippling through the lunar surface, and they just kept going. For nearly an hour, the moon vibrated, rang, and echoed like a struck bell. It wasn't just odd, it was honestly kind of eerie. And it gave birth to one of the strangest space conspiracies ever, that the moon might actually be hollow. Of course, NASA scientists had a much more grounded explanation. The moon's dry, brittle structure allowed seismic energy to bounce around without being absorbed like it would be on Earth. There's no water or soft rock layers to dampen the vibrations, so the energy just kept echoing. But that didn't stop wild theories from spreading. Soon, speculation exploded. Some claimed the moon was an artificial object, an enormous spacecraft, or maybe an alien observatory disguised as a satellite. The hollow moon theory picked up steam in fringe communities, fueled by unusual coincidences: the moon's perfect fit for solar eclipses, its oddly circular orbit, and the way its size and distance make it appear the same size as the sun from Earth. Others pointed to ancient myths. Cultures from Asia to the Middle East have stories about a time before the moon, suggesting it arrived later than Earth's other natural features. Combine that with strange anomalies, like mysterious lights seen from lunar orbit, or the unusually low density of the moon compared to Earth, and conspiracy theorists had everything they needed. Zoom in close enough on any blurry lunar photo, and someone somewhere will find a structure. A dome, a tower, a perfectly square shadow. Something that just doesn't quite fit with the natural chaos of craters and dust. Over the years, these strange shapes have fueled a wave of theories suggesting the moon may not be as lifeless or unoccupied as we think. These aren't just wild ideas from the internet's deepest corners. Ever since the Apollo missions, astronauts and scientists have faced speculation that they were hiding something. Some conspiracy theorists claim the far side of the moon, the hemisphere we never see, is home to massive artificial structures, bases, factories, even cities. They point to pixelated satellite images, strange lights, and symmetrical patterns as evidence that something unnatural is out there. Some claim that certain ridges or towers near the moon's poles are too geometric to be coincidence. And let's not forget the theory that the moon itself is a giant observation post, parked in orbit by beings we've never met. Scientists, of course, offer simpler explanations. Lens distortion, light angles, human pattern recognition, our brain's natural tendency to see meaning in randomness. What looks like a building from one angle often turns out to be just rock and shadow under closer inspection. Still, the lack of absolute clarity keeps the theories alive. Especially with private companies and foreign space agencies sending their own hardware to the moon, fresh images are constantly appearing online. And with AI tools now enhancing low-resolution photos, old mysteries are being re-examined through a modern lens, sometimes adding more questions than answers. It looks harmless, just gray powder covering the moon like a soft blanket. But moon dust is no ordinary dust. Up close, it's a nightmare. Microscopic and jagged like broken glass, this dust clings to everything and wears down whatever it touches. It chewed through astronaut boots, damaged joints in spacesuits, and even shorted equipment during the Apollo missions. The problem is the moon has no atmosphere or wind to weather down particles. So instead of smooth grains like sand on Earth, lunar dust remains sharp, abrasive, and electrostatically charged from constant solar radiation. It sticks to fabric, electronics, and even skin. Astronauts described it as smelling like burnt gunpowder and almost impossible to get off. Some brought it back into the lunar module by accident and reported sneezing fits and throat irritation, which today would raise serious safety concerns. Future missions are especially worried about it. Dust can clog ventilation systems, scratch visors, ruin filters, and coat solar panels, making long-term lunar stays much riskier than people realize. NASA and private companies are now developing special coatings, magnetic repulsion tech, and even dust-repelling boots to fight this invisible enemy. And here's the kicker: lunar dust might be the most widespread hazard up there. It's everywhere, and there's just no escaping it. In the race to return to the moon, mastering the dust may be just as important as landing safely. The moon is silent, airless, and geologically quiet. But deep beneath that calm surface, there's a secret. It used to have a magnetic field. A strong one. Some of the rocks collected during the Apollo missions are magnetized, even though there's no global magnetic field today. That shouldn't be possible, yet here we are. So what happened? One leading theory is that early in its life, the moon had a molten core that churned just like Earth's does now. That movement created a magnetic field, possibly even stronger than Earth's at one point. But over time, the moon's small size caused it to cool and its core to solidify. With the movement gone, the magnetic field faded, like a machine shutting down. But not everything adds up. Some lunar regions still show odd magnetic patches. Places like Reiner Gamma, which seem to bend solar wind and resist space weather. And these fields aren't aligned like a typical north-south dipole. They're scattered, local, and puzzling. What causes them? Maybe metallic fragments from ancient impacts, or iron-rich materials buried deep beneath the surface. Or maybe it's something we haven't figured out yet. The moon's magnetism is still largely unexplored territory. Understanding this isn't just about solving a mystery. Local magnetic fields could one day protect lunar bases from solar radiation or interfere with delicate instruments. Either way, the moon's magnetic past still leaves a mark. It's a ghost of a force that once pulsed through a very different moon. While most of the world focused on Mars, China looked back at the moon and did something no one else had managed to pull off. In 2019, their Chang'e 4 mission became the first spacecraft in history to soft land on the far side of the moon. No direct line of sight to Earth, no way to radio home. To pull it off, China launched a separate relay satellite, Kueqiao, positioning it beyond the moon to bounce signals back to Earth. It was a bold move, and it worked. The lander touched down inside Von Karman crater, part of the gigantic South Pole Aitken Basin, and deployed the Yutu-2 rover. Since then, Yutu-2 has quietly explored uncharted terrain, beaming back high-resolution images and analyzing lunar soil with onboard spectrometers. It found minerals linked to the moon's deep interior and layers of volcanic activity that hadn't been recorded before. More missions followed. Chang'e 5 brought lunar samples back to Earth in 2020, the first since the Soviet Luna program, and Chang'e 6, launched more recently, has returned the very first samples from the far side of the moon. This is a scientific goldmine. These samples may hold clues to the moon's early history, including the processes that shaped both hemispheres. China isn't stopping there. Future Chang'e missions plan to test technologies for building lunar infrastructure, harvesting resources, and even preparing for a potential international base near the South Pole. For now, while much of the world debates getting back to the moon, China is already there. Digging in, mapping, and rewriting lunar history with every rover wheel that rolls forward. Long before rockets and rovers, people stared up at the moon and wondered what it was. To early civilizations, it wasn't just a glowing rock in the sky. It was a calendar, a god, a glowing eye watching the Earth. But as far back as 3,000 years ago, humans weren't just worshipping the moon. They were trying to map it. One of the earliest known lunar depictions comes from Babylon, carved onto a clay tablet. It's not a map in the modern sense, but it shows that ancient astronomers were already tracking the moon's movements and its phases. The Babylonians were able to predict lunar eclipses with surprising accuracy using only naked eye observations and some clever math. Fast forward to medieval Europe and you find early moon sketches in illuminated manuscripts. They were mostly symbolic, used to mark time or religious events. But they show something important. People were starting to see the moon as a place, not just a light in the sky. Then everything changed in 1609. That's when Galileo Galilei pointed his telescope at the moon. And what he saw shattered centuries of belief. His crude sketches revealed mountains, valleys, and shadows. The moon, once thought to be a perfect heavenly sphere, was flawed and scarred. It was a world. Galileo's drawings sparked a revolution. Suddenly, the moon wasn't just poetry, it was geography. After that, lunar mapping became a serious scientific pursuit. By the 17th and 18th centuries, detailed maps were being drawn using increasingly powerful telescopes. Astronomers like Johannes Hevelius and Giovanni Riccioli created charts naming craters, seas, and regions, many of which are still used today. Mare Tranquillitatis, where Apollo 11 landed, comes from those old Latin names, the Sea of Tranquility. Today we have laser altimetry, satellite scans, and full three-dimensional models of the moon. But it all started with a few pencil lines in a notebook, scratched out by candlelight. Those early maps were more than scientific curiosity. They were acts of imagination, the first steps in turning the moon from a mystery into a destination. The story of how the moon formed reads like a cosmic myth, but it's grounded in science, and it's more dramatic than you might think. For decades, the leading theory was that a Mars-sized planet named Theia collided with the early Earth over 4 billion years ago. The impact was catastrophic. Debris blasted into space, and some of it clumped together in orbit to form the moon. That's been the standard explanation. Until now. A newer idea, called the double impact theory, flips things around. According to this model, the moon didn't form from a single clean hit. It came from 2 violent collisions, possibly involving a twin of Earth that didn't survive. The first crash may have stripped Earth's early crust, while the second threw enough material into orbit to eventually form the moon. What makes this theory so compelling is that it helps explain certain puzzling details, like why Earth and the moon are made of almost identical materials, right down to their isotopes. There's still debate, of course. Scientists run supercomputer simulations trying to recreate what happened, adjusting impact angles, rotation speeds, and chemical compositions. And every new moon rock sample gives more data. But what's clear is the moon wasn't just born, it was forged in chaos. And without that event, Earth's evolution and even life itself might have turned out very differently. We've been to the moon before, but now we're going back, for good. NASA's Artemis program is aiming to land the first woman and next man on the moon's surface, not as a one-time event, but as the first step toward a permanent human presence beyond Earth. The target? The moon's south pole. It's one of the most promising locations in the entire solar system, packed with deep shadowed craters that may hold frozen water and sunlight that touches mountain peaks for months. It's the perfect place to set up camp. Artemis missions will test new landers, spacesuits, nuclear power systems, and the construction of habitats designed to survive the brutal lunar night. And it's not just NASA. Private companies, international partners, and emerging space agencies are already laying the groundwork for something bigger: robotic mining systems, 3-dimensional printed habitats, and possibly a fuel depot that could launch missions to Mars. The moon is no longer just a goal. It's a gateway, a training ground, a blueprint for how humans can live on other worlds. Within a few years, the quiet gray surface may echo with footsteps again, not just for a moment, but for a future. And when that day comes, we'll finally stop calling the moon a destination and start calling it a second home.
UFOs over airports, volcanoes, and capital cities, these real sightings may prove we're not alone and never were. It was a quiet evening in downtown Los Angeles when a rooftop security camera picked up something that shouldn't have been there. Hovering above the skyline, barely making a sound, was a dark triangular object outlined by glowing lights. The footage quickly made its way online, sparking a storm of speculation. The triangle didn't blink, sway, or drift like a drone. It held position with eerie precision. Then, without warning, it rotated slowly and moved away in a smooth, calculated motion, far too steady and silent for any known aircraft. What makes this sighting especially strange is that it happened right above one of the most watched and filmed cities in the world. If this had been a drone or aircraft, someone would have claimed responsibility. But no government, no company, no individual stepped forward. Some believe it's part of a secret military test, perhaps reverse-engineered from something not of this Earth. Others think it's linked to the infamous Black Triangle crafts reported for decades, objects so advanced they leave even veteran pilots speechless. Analyzing the video frame by frame shows no visible propulsion system, no wings, no rotors, nothing that should make it fly. Still, it moved like it was defying gravity itself. The shape matches other triangle sightings from Belgium in the 90s and Illinois in 2000. Are these crafts part of a single global mystery? If so, who's really flying them? And why are they showing up above our cities? Whatever this thing was, it left behind no sound, no smoke, no trail, just questions. Just weeks after the Roswell crash, another strange object appeared, this time over the blazing skies of Phoenix, Arizona. William Rhodes, a local scientist and photographer, saw a disc-shaped craft circling silently overhead. He ran for his camera and snapped 2 clear black and white photos before the object zipped out of sight. What's wild is that these photos weren't just shrugged off, they were quickly taken by military investigators and Rhodes was questioned in detail. His photos showed a curved, finless object that didn't match any known aircraft from that era. What adds weight to this case is its timing. The summer of 1947 was swarming with UFO reports across the country, but few had actual photographic proof like this. Even now, decades later, these images haven't been debunked. They've shown up in military documents, official memos, and even leaked into public archives. Some researchers believe what Rhodes captured was an early surveillance vehicle, just not one of ours. If that's true, then whatever was flying above Phoenix that day was already ahead of anything we'd built at the time. Right above the Vatican's sacred skyline where history, religion, and mystery intersect, something unusual appeared in 2021. A strange glowing orb hovered in the clouds behind the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. Not just a glimmer or reflection. This was a solid spherical form casting its own color and light. Just when the sky seemed calm, it drifted slowly across the skyline, visible to anyone who happened to look up at the right moment. What stunned observers wasn't just its shape or color, but how out of place it looked in a city where every inch of the sky is monitored. This wasn't a bird, drone, or balloon. The object didn't waver or flicker, and it didn't behave like anything common. It glowed with a faint hue, some said bluish, others saw gold, and held steady in place before fading out without a trace. The location adds another level to the mystery. The Vatican has long been the subject of speculation when it comes to space and the unknown. Its observatory in Arizona studies deep space and whispers about secret documents hidden in the Vatican archives never seem to die down. Could it be that whatever appeared over the Vatican that day wasn't random? Was it a sign, a message, or something far more advanced quietly observing the most guarded seat of spiritual power on Earth? Whatever that orb was, it didn't belong there. And no one, not officials, not the church, gave an answer. Just like that, the sky closed again, and the question stayed. It was supposed to be just another morning for a Peruvian TV crew filming a lifestyle segment in Lima. But behind the presenter something began to shift in the sky, strange dots, gleaming and suspended in perfect formation. At first, no one noticed. Then, the crew turned to look. Above them was a small fleet of unidentified flying objects, arranged in a tight group, slowly drifting over the city's skyline. They weren't planes, they weren't birds, and they definitely weren't floating debris. What made this sighting so unique was the number of witnesses. Dozens of passers-by stopped and stared. Local journalists and UFO researchers showed up within hours. The objects held their shape, moved with unnatural synchronization, and stayed visible for an extended time in broad daylight. Some said it felt almost like they were being watched from above. Lima isn't new to this. The region is steeped in ancient legends about beings from the sky. Peru has some of the highest numbers of reported sightings in South America. Whether it's the Nazca lines or the massive geoglyphs seen only from the air, many believe this land has long had a connection to something not from here. Was this fleet over Lima just another chapter in that connection, or a direct demonstration for all to see? No military aircraft responded, no agency stepped in. The sky filled with watchers, and then they vanished as calmly as they came. Thousands of people pass through Chicago O'Hare every day. But on November 7, 2006, something happened above Gate C-17 that shook even the most seasoned airport workers. Several employees reported seeing a metallic disc silently hovering above the terminal just beneath the cloud ceiling. Pilots, baggage handlers, and airline supervisors all described the same thing, an object with a smooth, dark body, no wings, no sound, and no explanation. What's more chilling is what it did next. After hovering for several minutes, the craft shot upward with such force that it punched a clean hole through the clouds. Witnesses said the gap in the sky remained visible for several minutes, yet no radar picked it up. No official explanation was ever given, and aviation authorities quickly downplayed the event. What makes the O'Hare incident stand out is its setting. A major airport with restricted airspace, constant monitoring, and tight regulations. How could something so clearly visible evade detection? Why were those who spoke up discouraged from discussing it? Many now believe this was more than just a flyover. It was a controlled observation, a quiet show of presence right over one of the busiest places in the country. And like so many other encounters, it left behind no trace, just disbelief, silence, and sky. Jerusalem's ancient skyline, where spirituality and history collide, became the center of something unexplainable one quiet night in 2011. Above the golden dome of the rock, a glowing orb appeared in the sky. It wasn't faint, it hovered with intent, brilliant white, pulsing gently. Then in a blink it dropped straight down toward the dome, paused just above it, and in a flash of light that lit up the entire sky, it shot back upward at impossible speed. What makes this sighting so hard to ignore is the location. The Dome of the Rock isn't just sacred, it's monitored, guarded, and constantly under surveillance. The object's movement wasn't random, it was deliberate. Some say it was a kind of scanning or data collection. Others think it was a display. A silent, powerful message. And this wasn't a single witness event. It was seen by people in different parts of the city, from various angles, all describing the same thing. Skeptics tried to dismiss it as camera tricks, but the sheer number of matching reports makes that hard to swallow. Why Jerusalem? Why one of the holiest sites in the world? Was it a warning, a visit, or just a glimpse at how often we're being watched without knowing? Either way, that flash above the dome burned itself into the minds of all who saw it, and to this day, no one has provided an answer that holds up. Popocatépetl is one of Mexico's most active volcanoes and, strangely, one of its most active UFO hotspots. In 2020, a massive cylindrical object was spotted entering the crater at full speed. Captured by a permanent volcano monitoring camera, the object glowed with intensity and moved too fast to be a bird, drone, or plane. It didn't crash, it just disappeared inside the volcano as if it belonged there. This wasn't a one-time event. Over the years, dozens of unexplained objects have been seen flying into and out of this volcano. It's become so common that local media no longer treats it as shocking. But this 2020 sighting stood out. It was clear, large, and direct. Some believe there's something beneath the mountain, a base, a hidden facility. Even ancient legends from nearby communities tell of sky beings connected to Popocatépetl. Why would something that advanced head straight into an erupting volcano? That's the part no one can answer. Unless, of course, it wasn't trying to avoid the eruption, it was going home. In 1996, during the Space Shuttle Columbia's STS-75 mission, NASA astronauts deployed a long experimental tether into space, over 12 miles long. But something unexpected happened. The tether snapped and drifted away. As cameras focused on it, something appeared in the background. Then dozens, then hundreds. Bright circular objects floating behind the tether, pulsing, shifting, moving with intelligence. NASA called them debris or ice particles. But to many watching, these weren't random chunks of anything. The objects seemed to pulsate, grow and shrink, and maintain a consistent rounded shape. Some even changed direction. The footage quickly became one of the most debated pieces of space material in UFO history. Were these objects already surrounding Earth? Were they monitoring the mission? Or was the tether simply a lure that exposed what's really moving silently through our orbit? To this day, no clear explanation has been offered. What's certain is that for a few minutes the cameras caught something NASA didn't expect, and maybe didn't want us to see. In December 2009, Moscow's skies became the scene of one of the strangest urban UFO sightings ever recorded. A massive pyramid-shaped object was spotted floating directly above the Kremlin, the heart of Russian political power. It wasn't speeding, blinking, or trailing smoke, it hovered. Silent, motionless, spinning slowly, almost deliberately. Eyewitnesses from various parts of the city described the same thing, a dark geometric structure hanging over Red Square like something out of a science fiction film. What's even more baffling is the size. Estimates suggest the object was nearly a mile wide, far too large to be any known drone or aircraft. Some videos show it slowly rotating in place, suspended as if unaffected by gravity. Others captured it at a different angle, still unmoving, still silent. It didn't blink or pulse like a balloon caught in the wind. It held its shape with an eerie stillness. The Russian government made no official statement, and state media quickly moved on. But the people who saw it didn't forget. Many believe this was a show of force, or a reminder. The choice of location couldn't have been more symbolic. The Kremlin, the very center of geopolitical power. Whatever hovered there that night wasn't ordinary, and it left behind no answers, only silence and sky. Among the most puzzling military UFO sightings ever declassified is the so-called teardrop object, captured in a black and white infrared image by a US reconnaissance jet. The photo, kept classified for years, shows a glowing, crescent-shaped object suspended high above the Atlantic Ocean. It wasn't drifting, it wasn't breaking up, it held a sharp, defined shape, and appeared to be emitting its own heat signature, unlike anything natural or known in aviation. What makes this case even more compelling is the military context. The photo was included in a set of unclassified intelligence reports released in 2023, connected to ongoing investigations by the Pentagon's UAP task force. There was no radar track, no identification, just an object behaving in ways no known craft should, stationary at extreme altitude, and completely immune to jet wash or weather effects. Some theorists believe this teardrop wasn't flying at all, it was stationed, like a sentry or a probe. Others suggest it's part of a broader network of monitoring devices, constantly watching from just above where our jets can fly. The eerie glow in the infrared image adds to its mystery. Some claim it's the heat signature of an active engine, but with no trail, no sound, and no movement, it's impossible to say. This isn't a grainy light in the distance, it's a clear shape. A real object, photographed by trained personnel and quietly filed away, until now. And if this is just one of the images they're letting the public see, what else is still locked behind classified stamps? It was a quiet morning in Great Falls, Montana, when Nicholas Mariana, the general manager of the local baseball team, looked up and saw two bright silvery objects moving swiftly through the sky. With a 16mm color camera in hand, he captured something that would become one of the most studied UFO films in US history. The footage shows two rotating disc-like shapes cruising across the sky in broad daylight, clear, fast, and steady. This wasn't a story passed down by word of mouth or hidden in hearsay. The film exists, and it was sent directly to the US Air Force for analysis. Investigators at the time admitted the objects were unknowns. Unlike later attempts to brush off similar sightings, this one received serious attention. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO program, kept it in its files for years. It was even shown in the 1956 documentary UFO, marking one of the first times the public got a real look at something unidentified and officially acknowledged. Skeptics tried to explain the objects as reflections from jets, but Mariana had filmed those same skies before, and nothing he'd seen compared to what showed up on that reel. The speed, brightness, and synchronized motion of the two objects didn't match anything flying at the time, and this was 1950, long before modern drones or digital effects. What makes this case so powerful is its simplicity. Clear footage, a credible witness, immediate military interest, and no real answer. 70 years later, the film still holds up, still raises eyebrows, and still makes people wonder, what exactly did he catch above the plains of Montana that day? Paris, one of the most photographed cities in the world, became the unexpected stage for a modern mystery in 2010. On a clear afternoon, tourists snapping photos of the Eiffel Tower noticed something strange hovering nearby. A dark, disc-like object suspended in the sky, motionless and silent. The shape was too defined to be a cloud, too steady to be a bird, and too far out of place to be ignored. Several people captured it from different angles, and the object was visible in more than one image, always in the same position, always keeping its distance. What made this event especially eerie was how unnoticed it seemed in the moment. No sound, no trail, no disruption. Only later, when photos were reviewed, did people begin to realize something unexplainable had entered the frame. Experts examined the images and dismissed lens flares and reflections. The object had a solid edge, a real shadow, a physical presence. Why the Eiffel Tower? Some think it's the symbolism. Iconic locations seem to attract attention, especially from above. Others speculate the object was observing, perhaps scanning, blending into a place where the sky is constantly filled with balloons, helicopters, and planes. But this wasn't any of those. It came, it hovered, and it vanished. No explanations, no claims of responsibility, just an unidentified object floating above the most recognized landmark in Europe, captured forever by unsuspecting tourists who had no idea their vacation photo might hold something truly otherworldly. In the heart of a war zone where every inch of airspace is tracked, watched, and locked down, something silently slipped through. In 2016, over Mosul, Iraq, a US military drone captured footage of a strange metallic sphere moving calmly through the sky. No visible wings, no heat signature, no exhaust. It just floated, steady, controlled, deliberate. In 2023, this footage was officially released by the Pentagon's AARO division, confirming its authenticity. What makes the Mosul orb so unique is the context. This wasn't rural farmland or a quiet desert, it was an active combat zone monitored by some of the most advanced surveillance tech on Earth. And still, no one could explain it. It didn't trigger alerts, didn't respond to tracking systems, and didn't behave like any aircraft, military or civilian. Military analysts had no answers. The object didn't match any known drone profile, and it seemed to move with intelligence, not randomness. Some theories claim it's a foreign surveillance tool, while others point to its eerily similar behavior to past orb sightings around nuclear facilities in sensitive areas. Why would something like this be calmly navigating a conflict zone, observing, testing, or simply making itself known in plain sight during one of the most heavily documented wars in modern times? The Pentagon called it unresolved. For the rest of us, it raises a deeper question. If these spheres are watching our wars, what else are they watching? Off the coast of Santiago in 2014, the Chilean Navy encountered something they couldn't explain. A military helicopter flying a standard daytime patrol mission spotted a long, dark object moving swiftly through the sky. When viewed through the onboard infrared camera, the shape was clear, a sleek, cigar-like craft gliding without wings, sound, or any visible propulsion. But what truly shocked the crew was the trail it appeared to leave behind. A discharge of some kind, visible only in thermal imaging. Not smoke, not vapor, something else. The object wasn't detected on radar, no transponder, no response to radio calls. The pilots tracked it for nearly 10 minutes, watching it shift speeds and angles effortlessly. Twice it released a strange burst, something hot enough to show up on infrared, yet completely invisible to the eye. To this day, no one knows what it was made of, or how it moved like that. Chile's government didn't hide it. The footage was handed over to CFAA, their official aerial anomalies committee, and in 2017, it was made public with full transparency. Experts from multiple fields, aviation, physics, military, reviewed the data. None could identify it. They ruled out weather balloons, aircraft, drones, or debris. That elongated shape has since shown up in sightings across the globe, always in restricted zones, always acting just beyond what we consider possible. The Chilean Navy's encounter stands as one of the clearest, most detailed official UFO cases released by any country. Whatever that object was, it didn't come to play. It came to be seen. And then, just like that, it was gone. On the night of March 13, 1997, something massive passed silently over Arizona. Thousands of people from Phoenix to Tucson looked up and saw a giant V-shaped formation of lights moving across the sky. It wasn't fast, it wasn't loud, it just glided, slow, steady, and so huge that it reportedly blocked out stars as it passed overhead. Some saw 5 lights, others counted 7, but nearly everyone agreed on one thing. This wasn't a plane, a helicopter, or anything familiar. The first wave of sightings began around 7:55 p.m. near Henderson, Nevada, and continued for hours as the object traveled southeast across Arizona. Eyewitnesses described it as being the size of multiple football fields, completely silent and flying unusually low. One witness said it felt like a living thing. Another said it was close enough to touch. None of the major military bases in the area took credit. There were no warnings, no alerts, just silence. Later that evening, the official explanation was that the lights were flares dropped by the Air National Guard during training exercises. But that explanation came weeks after the incident, and it didn't match what most people saw. Flares don't maintain perfect formation. They don't hover silently across hundreds of miles. They don't block out the stars in a clean triangular pattern. To this day, the Phoenix lights remain one of the most widely seen and reported UFO events in U.S. history. July 11, 1991. A total solar eclipse darkens the sky over Mexico City, and thousands gather to witness the rare celestial event. But as people look up, something unexpected appears, hovering lights, bright, round, and in a deliberate pattern. First seen near the city's skyline, the orbs don't flicker like stars or shift like balloons. They remain fixed in a geometric formation, quietly observing. The objects weren't just noticed by a few, they were spotted by crowds, families, even broadcast cameras capturing the eclipse. For years, the incident has been connected to ancient predictions and theories about celestial alignments triggering extraterrestrial activity. But for most who saw it, it wasn't about mythology, it was about reality. Thousands of people looking up at the same time saw something the government still can't explain. The eclipse was expected. The UFOs were not. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection plane was conducting a routine patrol near Rafael Hernandez Airport in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Using infrared tracking, the crew noticed a fast-moving object approaching the runway. At first, it seemed like a drone, but the object's movements were far from ordinary. It flew at high speeds, made sharp turns, and at one point, split into 2 separate bodies before plunging into the ocean without slowing down. The event wasn't leaked by conspiracy theorists. It was analyzed and shared by the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. a team of military, aviation, and physics experts. After months of analysis, they concluded the object was a genuine, unidentified aerial phenomenon with flight capabilities beyond modern technology. Whatever it was, it moved through the air and into the sea with complete confidence, like it had done it 1,000 times before. That's about it. Have you ever seen a UFO in person? Let me know in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.